The Force was obviously not with us in May because we didn't play any Star Wars games. But what did we play in May?
Hi, I'm Julian and this is Libby, and as always we are going to talk about the new and notable board games that we have played in May. As always, you've kept track of it on BG Stats, what little nuggets of information can you give me?
We have played only 33 different games, so not a huge
That's not
amount.
that bad though, that's still more than one a day.
Yeah. And new to us are about 8, so
okay.
not too bad. Right, so let's have a little look here. One notable, it's one that we have played before and is in our collection. Deep Sea Adventure. You've been playing more on the app and then you ended up introducing one of your daughters to it and she now says it's one of her favourites.
Yeah, so I don't quite know why, but I went back to the app on Android and perhaps on iPhone. You get Deep Sea Adventure for free, but then you pay for the other Oink games. And she'd mentioned after playing Scout quite a bit how much she's enjoying Scout, and she said, "Oh, do they do other games?" And I said, "Well, yeah, they do loads." And I kind of reached for Deep Sea Adventure, and I'd forgot how much fun that is. In the past, we often dismiss it because it doesn't really work very well at 2. When we do play at 2,
we double hand it, don't we? So
so
that we can do the skippy over bit, which is what makes it most of the fun.
But it obviously it's a push your luck game at the very core. And there's a certain amount of knowing when is the prudent time to go back and how much to grab, knowing that's going to have an effect on the kind of collective oxygen. But it's a fun, quick game to play. It feels very silly in a way, and there's the inherent frustrations that you might actually get a really good token, carry it all the way back to ship, only to turn it over with that's worth no points or 3 points or something. It's like, wow, I may as well not have gone in the ocean.
Yeah, but she could have stayed in the shallows and I would have done even better.
Yeah, but she really enjoyed it, and my other daughter was enjoying playing the kind of rescue squad.
Oh yeah, she was like, I hope one of you drowns.
Die at sea.
I think it's because she wanted the rescue squad to go out and save them, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's a fun. Often it's nice to kind of rediscover, older games on the shelf, have another look at them and see them with a fresh pair of eyes. So yeah, it was good.
That was fun. We talking about fresh pair of eyes. We introduced them to Andor, the family fantasy, and they absolutely adored it. Whole new mechanism for them, and having sort of characters which do slightly different things, and they have to kind of think about how their character works best and what actions different people should do. Obviously, they were drawn in by the fact that there's wolf pups.
Yeah, you're rescuing little pups.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cooperative, so that's always great. But I do pick it for my game of the month.
You do, yes.
So if you want to know more about why that was so magical for us as a family, do have a watch of that. And as we said in that video, we have recently done 2 sets of videos for children, one for younger players and one for older ones, and
or sort of inexperienced versus experienced players.
It's kind of difficult to gauge ages of children and what's appropriate.
Yeah.
But had we played this prior to doing that video, it would have been on the older children one.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind.
Yeah, for sure. We also played Hollywood 1947 again, but this time we played it with a couple of different groups, and both of them are relatively new to gaming. One group certainly not gamers, just occasionally when we force them to, and the other group people that are looking to get into the hobby, but sort of pretty early doors for some of them there. And that was interesting. It plays quite well. I think it takes the first film for everyone to sort of really understand what's going on, what these job roles are all about, and who's got what, and then you get into all the banter of it, and that. Oh, so you placed that then, did you? Interesting.
Yeah, it's quite a lot to take in. I mean, there's 3 sets of cards with your loyalty and your job roles, and obviously the cards are going to contribute to the film. I don't know if there's a better way I can explain it, but like I said, after the first round, it all kind of meshes together and people get it.
Yeah.
And what I find we do when we are playing it for the first time as a new group is really up the amount of banter.
Yeah.
To introduce the idea that it's a key part of this game. You don't play it in silence, you play it pointing a finger.
Yeah, and it adds to that interest of people that, haven't done a lot of gaming, for them to then step into a social deduction style is quite a whole different ball game, isn't it? So I mean, I was quite lucky on one of the games particularly. You were actually a patriot, but the first screenwrite you got to do, which was the first action of the entire game, Julian puts down a communist card.
Well, I drew. So as a screenwriter, you get to choose which of the films you're going to make, and one was a double communist and one was a single communist. So I placed the communist down because that was the better of the two options for Patriot. But you were pointing a finger straight away, communist.
Yeah, didn't that give me an opening? I was like, oh, interesting play of cards there. Oh, what does that say about you? And then the whole table sort of get what's going on because you're able to open with that kind of interesting play from such a start. So and interestingly, I mean, you weren't dressed in red that day, but interestingly, no. The two communists at the table were the two people that were in red tops. Yep. So but that was highly amusing to all of us by the end of it.
I think TV shows recently, like Traitors, do open people's eyes to different possibilities, and it was nice for them to say, oh, it's like that, and we're like, this is different types of games that you can play, not just Monopoly and Ludo. Yeah,
so everyone had good fun, I think, playing those, so that was good. A game that we really enjoyed, almost made my game of the month, Mille Fiori, and you've got these gorgeous like perspex, almost look like stained glass tiles that go onto the player board. There's quite a few different types of scoring areas. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 of them, and you're kind of trying to work out what best thing to do, whether you can block your opponent. And what I absolutely loved is when you get to cascade. So if you fill in something and then it lets you have an extra turn, and then or you pick up another card or something, and then that will then let you finish something else, which then lets you do something else, and it just can sort of snowball, and everyone's there like, you've got like 35 points on that turn. I'm like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you follow up with that and say, I have 2 points. Yeah,
exactly. The next goes probably not so good. But really interesting.
It got better with the multiple plays. You played it, once and a few times after that. And that's when you start understanding what's the good start game approaches, where mid game and by the end game what you should be heading.
Yeah.
And also better than what your opponents are trying to do, and then you can either then choose, well, I'm going to scupper their plans, or I'm going to focus on what I need to do. But interestingly, every time I was doing a grand plan, it felt like one of you would stop me in my tracks.
Of course.
So
of course. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to let anyone complete a pyramid if I could help it. So there's lots of different bits and pieces going on. I think if you've enjoyed any of the Azul games and you're looking for something with a little bit more decision space but they're as fun as tactile. It's got some similarities, but it feels different enough to potentially have the both. So if you like those, I would definitely recommend having a further look into that one for sure. And the game that did make my game of the month is Wonderlands War, which has taken a while to get hold of. I picked it up at Aircon in the Bring and Buy, for those of you who might have seen that. We finally did get it played, and it's fantastic. I think it's deserving of some of that hype that's been around it, and I love how there's different elements again within the game. You're starting around a tea party. You've got this sort of ratchet system where you can't sort of go backwards. You're kind of racing for good cards, but you don't want to go around the table too quick because there's only so many turns, and you've got to get some good stuff going on. And it turns into a sort of, the more you play, the more asymmetric it turns, because you're sort of upping your character and its abilities and how it can not be so kind in the Wonderland War to the opponents. Maybe you're giving extra bits of madness shards, or you're doing something else to your characters. You might be dropping some poison and different things, and you get better at being you the more you upgrade your character. And you're also trying to get to the end of a little rows of things that you're upgrading something else. You might get some Wonderlandians on board to help you go to war. And in the warfare, that's really interesting too. You've got that push your luck in the bag element, that quacks of Quedlinburg that they talk about. And I love that the drama of you've all got your chips out and you're just sort of dropping them, and you've either got who knows what you've got in there, but you might have nothing, and you might just open up and go, nope. And everyone's sort of like, oh, you're out. You know, the drama of all that, the excitement of that war stage is fantastic. And it changes from war to war. You've got so many wars that you're probably going to be part of in that round. Which one's more important to you? Are you just doing one to get to an even number so you can fulfill a mission? Are you doing, like, pushing really hard on one so that you can hopefully refill your bag so that you'll be fresh for the one that you really care about? You know, there's loads of different things going on in those wars, and it's just, a lot of fun. It's very colourful. I love the artwork.
It's beautiful on the table. And,
I mean, I do talk about it in the Game of the Month, so I should probably move on.
Yeah, have a watch of that.
I probably said everything. Whoops.
It's such an eventful game. We've been talking about, the banter around the table, and you certainly get that with that. Whereas that moment when you reveal there's nothing in your hand, that's a chef's kiss moment.
That's fun. Yeah. We played Casting Shadows, which a friend had on a Kickstarter, came over, wanted to give it a play, so we played that. Really cute artwork. I love how you can, like, turn over your character and upgrade your character.
It's nice. You're using your kind of shadow energy to upgrade and evolve your character, and there's a decision about when do you use your shadow energy for that purpose to make them stronger, or do you start using it for kind of collecting your cards. And it's interesting, the board behaves in a kind of almost like Dwellings of Eldervale style way, where you're placing and you're getting the benefits of being in certain places, and that's going to help you with the battles. There's lots of decisions that go on, and it has a kind of battle with your opponents that you kind of see in Dice Phone as you're changing the dial around and you're whittling down your energy, and it was lots of fun. It was a good kind of fun, engaging, and certainly the artwork helped.
Yeah, and I think if I don't think it's too complicated, so it could be sort of a step up game.
Yeah.
Would be quite good. You played, it was again at this sort of welcoming games event that we went to. You managed to get Colt Express to the table for the first time in ages. It's one that you really love, and I enjoy it when I'm playing it, but I don't always gravitate to pull it off the shelf. So this was a great opportunity for you to introduce it to more people.
Yeah, a friend of ours who knows us from a different game group said he set up his own group. But the people who have come in haven't played many of these kind of modern board games, and I think some of them came thinking we're going to play some Monopoly and some Scrabble.
Yeah, there was certainly one lady that I was sort of helping and teaching, and she played Monopoly and Scrabble, and that's it. She hadn't heard of any others, so was really excited to sort of discover all these other new games.
And I remember when I was in that situation, when I started going to a board game club and playing more modern board games, this is one I played a lot, because it's just got this impressive table presence of having a train, or literally a 3D train that you move your characters around, and that could work on a board. Yeah, you could just move up and down, but it's a lot more fun having an actual train there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a good one to take to show how different these games can be, and it's very quick to explain. To be honest, you can kind of blind luck your way through it. And still do quite well.
I do.
But you do have, we're talking about spectacle and moments, and you do have that two-phase part of it. But then you're revealing the story, and I find that all very exciting. And you can put the drama in there of, Ghost is going onto the roof and shooting, and Cheyenne's punching the air because there's no one there. and that plays out in a really kind of almost cinematic way.
Yeah.
And
here comes the marshal again.
Yeah. And even people are just, joining around the table to see what it is and get involved in the story, and it's I forget how fun it can be with that kind of game. We often just focus on the heavier, the longer whole evening event games, but this was just lots of silly fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, it was real fun. What else have we played? Oh, we played Francis Drake for the first time in ages. It's one that some of our friends that were actually introducing you really to board games sort of quite early on, we would go around there, and it's one we would play with them quite a lot at a high player count. We'll add, we'd often have expansions and other things, and we've had a copy in our collection for quite some time now. It is a 3+ player, so that does give us a little bit of a excuse, but we haven't actually played our own copy, and I mean, it was so smooth, it was so quick, like,
It's a well-designed game.
Yeah, I'd forgotten. It has that lovely ratchet system again at the top where, I mean, you're basically going and trying to sort of get all the supplies and crew and everything that you need to go out on your voyage. Maybe you want to upgrade your boat, maybe you want to take certain positions which give you a little helping hand later in the game, and people will fight over certain key parts. Which is interesting, but and you need certain equipment to do certain things. So if you don't have enough barrels of rum, then your crew aren't going to be happy, and you can't go that far from shore because they're going to need to go back in to resupply. So you can only go to certain parts of the board when you get to the second sort of sailing phase, and you can choose to trade, or you can choose to sort of fight other ships, the towns, the forts, and if you can try and do all of them, then you get extra points and things. So it's 3 phases, and it just sort of worked so smoothly. So it was a lot of fun, and I think we have quite a colourful collection here, and sometimes a beige box gets a little bit overlooked, but
it's nice actually... to, and again, quite short, quite quick to play. We played a 3-player game in an hour, and kind of had that kind of big experience.
Well, I think that's partly what's been holding us back from getting it back to the tables, because we've always played it at such a large player count before that it has been that longer game. There's always been someone who's having the full teach, so it seemed like, we're not going to probably have time for that one. It's in quite a big box, so you kind of think, we won't be able to, but actually playing it at 3 was super quick. Yeah,
and
so
really enjoyable.
Yeah, so we will probably play that again. I like a boat voyage.
Yeah, it's kind of a forgotten classic, really.
We have finally got near and far the first mission done. So I don't think it's gonna, at this point, it's not gonna qualify for like game of the month or anything like that, because we want to get a few more games from the campaign under our belt, see what's going on with it. But we've learnt it, we know it, we've done the first scenario, so we're ready to flick the page and sort of really start the campaign proper, and super excited for that. And Life's got a bit in the way, so we're a bit delayed compared with where we thought we would hopefully be, but we started
the journey. And that's what's fantastic about being with you, because you seem to be obsessed with buying the Red Raven games, but really it feels like they're games that are my kind of games. They're story focused, and they have lots of almost video game style mechanics in them. And I've been itching to play Sleeping Gods again, but want to leave a sufficient gap in it to really enjoy it again, in this fresh way. So this is quite nice in that these games, now and never, above and below, give us a chance to have kind of self-contained little stories, little adventures. And it'd be interesting to see how that continues, how that plays into it, if it does involve, a more larger campaign. We've obviously only played it very short amount of it so far, so I'm very keen to see how it plays out. But I'm a little bit scared because I know full well that if we enjoy this, Distant Skies is still available to kind of pre-order, and that's an expensive game that it's going to get harder to resist.
Harder and harder to resist, yeah. And I think down the line potentially we'll do maybe more content on Red Raven and see how they sit in terms of rankings for the both of us, because it'll be interesting. I loved Sleeping Gods as well, but I found that sort of open-endedness of it quite difficult to kind of get to grips with, having always finished a game, finished a chapter, finished this, and you're so used to that with video gaming, that you didn't find that an issue whatsoever. And I think it's probably a plus point for you. So it would be interesting to see how this one that is in sort of set chapters compares to my experience of Sleeping Gods, or will I still like that one more? It'll be interesting. Interesting to see. Yeah. Right, next up we played Rising Sun again, a game I'm loving more and more. You had a little moment with it, but
I learnt from that. We played with 3 originally, and in that the loyalties kind of shifted a bit, but in this time,
well, I was at the disadvantage in the loyalties in the first time we played, and this time you were fully at the disadvantage.
I doubled down on the... In my defence, I did slightly misread the card. That's not really a good explanation, but I did play that I'll get 4 points every time I didn't betray, and I neglected to read that it said when in an alliance.
Yeah.
Which meant that from the end of the first round, no one would...
Of which you'd picked up 2 of these
Yeah.
cards, so that's 8 points per round for anyone.
No one was going to ally with me.
No.
I was never going to have another alliance.
Which
Which
no one's
meant...
giving away that many points.
It meant it was tricky, and I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy playing it, but I was on the back foot the whole game, and I was playing for almost 2 hours, knowing it's impossible for me to win. Even if I have a perfect game now, it's at such a disadvantage by not being in an alliance that it's going to be... I'm just trying to keep my head above water. I'm trying to,
Which you did, actually. Like, the scores were relatively close by the end.
Yeah. But it was a struggle, and I still enjoyed playing it, but I've learnt a valuable lesson from playing it. Keen to play it again, though.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna pick up that second card, you could do it slightly later down the line.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, a great game, and one that we definitely want to play more of, for sure. We played Spectrum, a game of colour, very colourful roll and move game. We have done a 5 reasons to play for it, which is on the channel. So if you are interested in knowing more about that, and you're interested in the sort of roll and move style games, maybe with a slight step up, then go check that one out. And then I have also been doing a few sort of pre-gaming for UK Games Expo. I needed to learn several of the games that will be at the show that we'll be demoing there. So a lot of the open and play games, there is Alligator, Dirty Pigs and My Gold Mine. We don't have Monster 12 yet, we'll have that on a bit later. But they're just small little boxes, magnets shut, you open up and use the flap as part of the board to put your cards and bits and pieces on. And they're very family friendly, very travel friendly range of games. So you probably would have seen some footage about that in our UK Games Expo stuff. And then the other one that we've been playing again as a demo copy, it won't be out till a little bit later, is My Island, the sequel to My City, which is super fun. So we've played several chapters of those. So
it's going to be a big game, My Island, I suspect.
Yeah.
But that's been May.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've already seen our content on the UK Games Expo, so you can imagine all the things we are going to be talking about in June, at the end of June. But what did you play in May that you really did enjoy? Please do let us know in the comments down below, and also suggest some games based on what we've just talked about. What would we like to play that we haven't already played? Do let us know. Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you. Of course, please do subscribe, like the video, ring the bell if you haven't, all that good stuff. And we will hear from you again soon.
Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.